Jai Hind everyone. No matter the US and China may not likely accept one thing, but India is one of their common targets. When the recently conducted US China talks had failed, it has got direct implications over India. And once considered safe for India, once considered a safety region for Indians, the Bay of Bengal is now secretly turning into a battleground. Notably, multiple things would happen in Bay of Bengal for over a period of next 5 to 10 years, and US and China will make this region of Bay of Bengal crucial to the geopolitics of entire South Asian region. Moreover, it is not just crucial for entire South Asian region. This region has already become a battleground of these two countries. Many developments over last 2 years have taken place in this region, and the US wants to counter the growing Chinese influence in the South and the Southeast Asia region, which is known for it. Moreover, a pro-Chinese military regime that rules in Myanmar, the foreign military boots are already on ground on the Bangladesh-Myanmar border. The foreign presence has now split the Indian side in a very sensitive northeastern region where everyone, including the entire Indian government, is keeping a very close watch. Recently, NIA had also arrested foreigners in this region, and a very well-known foreigner, Matthew Aaron Van Dyke, was also arrested from this region. Moreover, both the big powers, the China as well as the US, has got Pakistan on their side. Previously, we had seen India fighting a two-front war, but now officially India is fighting a three-front war. And the three fronts are coming from Pakistan, the usual enemy, the China, and now the Bangladesh has also become a puppet of both of these superpowers. Now, Pakistan has always been a breakthrough for all of these countries. But recently, when Sheikh Hasina's government was removed from Bangladesh, both of these countries, China and US, had facilitated their aspirations, their ambitions by placing the interim government that was led by Muhammad Yunus. And later on, we saw Tariq Rahman coming onto the regime. Muhammad Yunus then had also sided with the Islamists and had given them a free hand for the anti-India campaign. And it was then that officially India underwent a three-front war. Moreover, in this situation, when the Tariq government took over after winning the elections in February this year, it has also annulled many orders and the decisions that were given by the Yunus government and also the Sheikh Hasina government, and this has impacted the domestic affairs. But the stance of US and China has remained the same for Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is now acting as an economic slave of both of these countries. Both the big powers are holding the key to Bangladesh's well-being, and China is the largest trade and arms supplier to the Bangladesh. Now, when we move ahead, recently we had seen that this region of Bay of Bengal has become very important for these two superpowers, and simultaneously this region has become dangerously active for the country like India. So for decades we called it peaceful waters. Okay, they were calm, they were stable, but currently that era has officially been over. Today the Bay of Bengal is the critical sphere. Okay, and the era has gone, and now the Bay of Bengal is basically a very crucial maritime junction connecting the Indian and the Pacific Ocean. And once it was basically a support system to the India, but now it is being used as a weapon against the Indians. Okay. Now, what are the forgotten era which is no more? For decades, the Bay of Bengal remained geopolitically quiet, overshadowed by the South China Sea. Now, a critical maritime junction operating between the Indian and Pacific Ocean, it has got vital energy and trade corridor for 1.4 billion people, and India's core security interests are directly at stake, with the US and China rivalry reaching the new heights. Okay. Moreover, one thing has also been very clear in this instance, one thing has also been noticed many a times by them. Okay. Now, when we move ahead, if we talk about why it is important, what is the strategic significance for this region? Okay, so what is the strategic significance and why essentially we feel that this area is important? Okay, now we might have heard of the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, but strategically, this Bay of Bengal is also a global choke point which is linking the Indian Ocean to the entire Southeast Asia. For India, it is a gateway to the Act East policy and connectivity to the entire northeastern region and connectivity to the entire, we can see, to the southern Asian countries. Okay. Moreover, we can see the global trade choke point, the key artery for energy supplies and the trade linking Indian Ocean to the Southeast Asia and Malacca Strait. India's Act East gateway. It is primarily linked to the Northeast India and the ASEAN countries, the Kaladan multimodal project plus the Sitwe project as alternative to the Siliguri corridor. Okay, so understood. Meanwhile, China is aggressively building its string of pearls. Okay, so through the ports like the Kyakuifi, the through the ports like Kya Ukfau. Okay, in Myanmar and the investments in Bangladesh, China has been now supporting and projecting itself as a naval power with the help of this region. Okay, moving ahead, when we see why it is dangerous, okay, why a perfect storm is in making. Okay, we can see that what happens when superpowers start fighting over your area. Okay, now it is China and Australia, in order to establish their supremacy in this region and in order to counter them, they are now playing with the backyard of India's. Okay, so a perfect storm is in making. The US is pushing hard for its warships, the deployment and defense pacts with countries like Bangladesh. Okay, and they are now giving it access to their key ports like the Chittagong port. Okay, so US-China rivalry, Bay has become central theater in Indo-Pacific conflict. Bangladesh conundrum, US pushing warships deployment, Somia and the ACSA agreements for the port access, Chittagong, okay, Matarabari. Shifting alliances, Bangladesh pivoting, deepening military ties with China. Now, China has been the largest arms supplier and reviving defense links with Pakistan. That had been happening since last 2 years. The CORDS, the Port for the Future initiative, highlights the rising stakes of these countries. Okay. Now, at the same time, we have seen the Bangladesh is pivoting. Okay, they are deepening their military ties with China, and they have also very shockingly revived their defense relations with Pakistan. Okay, so we can see that this combination is creating serious repercussions for the Indians, and the strategic tensions are bound to arise. Okay, now in this, the next thing that we go across is India's strategic encirclement. Now, risk of three front challenges: China in the north, Pakistan to the west, and Bangladesh to the east. Okay. Myanmar instability. There has been civil war, threatens Kaladan project and the Sitwe port. Now, China's Kya Ukfiu port, which is just 300 kilometers away, offers the rival naval presence. Grey zone activities, submarine competition, and infrastructure militarization is again an issue. Potential spillover from internal conflicts into the maritime domain. Okay, so for India, okay, now this is turning into a nightmare scenario of encirclement that is taking place. Okay, Bangladesh is hostile and Bangladesh is heavily aligned. Okay, now combined with China in the north and Pakistan in the west, this is going to create a dangerous three front challenge for India. Okay. Moreover, the fourth front, which is relatively insignificant now for these days, is the Myanmar's civil war. The instability in Myanmar has threatened the Kaladan project and the China's powerful Kyaukpyu naval base, which is just 300 kilometers away. Moreover, it is a reason, it is a gray zone risk that has been arising. The submarine competition and a potential maritime flashpoints are in making. Okay. Now, what are the counter moves that have been made by India? So, even though the issues are there, and India has been closely observing it, but India is not sitting idly. Okay, the eastern flanks is all heated up around the country. Now, the Myanmar engagement. So, the strategic moves that are being made by India. High level visits of the Chief of Naval Staff to Myanmar, the military exercises, okay, the coordinated patrols, training, and the submarine cooperation has been are being continued with Myanmar. Eastern Fleet has been strengthened, reinforced Andaman and Nicobar Command and the Eastern Naval Command. Sitwe port activation now counter to the Kyaukpyu for connectivity and trade. Economic tools, the rupee trade mechanism, rice exports, and infrastructure support to retain the influence. Moreover, framing the US moves as provocation while pushing the proactive diplomacy in this region. Okay, so New Delhi is very actively responding to every threat that is being posed against us. Okay, in this situation, we have strengthened the naval ties with Myanmar. The high level visits have been done. The joint military exercises are being conducted. The coordinated patrols along the entire maritime coast are being done. We have been reinforcing the Andaman and Nicobar Command as well as the Eastern Naval Commands, and we are also pushing towards operationalizing the Sitwe port, which is a direct counter to China. Okay. Moreover, in order to counter anything what China does or what US does, we can only come up with economic tools. Okay, an economic tool like the rupee trade and the rice exports to retain influence. Okay, the Indian officials are also clearly signaling that foreign military bases in the neighborhood are a clear no, they are unacceptable. Okay, so what is the big picture and what is the way forward? Now, in this situation, when we have understood that the Bay of Bengal is no longer a forgotten yard for India's, okay, it is now the eastern gateway to our future. In this situation, we can see the Bay of Bengal has transformed into a front line of great power rivalry. India's strategic depth, regional alliances, and national security is now online. The way forward is first, we acknowledge multi alignment realities in Bangladesh and Myanmar. We offer more attractive economic and strategic packages to them, ensure naval primacy through modernization and presence, and we use Myanmar as a geographical pivot while securing the Kaladan project. Okay, so if we have to summarize, okay, this region has now transformed into a front line of great power and great rivalry. Okay, for India, the path forward is very clear. First and foremost, we have to accept the multi-dimensional realities that have been taking place in this region. Of better economic and strategic packages, we must maintain uncompromising naval primacy. Okay, and we must use Myanmar as the pivot. We securing this Bay of Bengal is not an option for India. It is essential for our national security, and moreover, it is not just national security, it is the survival for Indians. Okay, so we must understand one thing, okay, that this region has now become a very important region. Now India is left with very little choices. Okay, and we have to lump this situation. We have to understand that Pakistan has returned to re-establish itself in the erstwhile eastern province of Pakistan, now called the Bangladesh. Okay, moreover, Bangladesh and Pakistan have now also signed the law enforcement MOUs. Okay, which was first institutionalized. Bilateral intelligence sharing framework between these two countries have also been established. Okay, significantly, this will also complicate the entire setup of India and Bangladesh. Now we must also deal with organizations like Jamaat-e-Islami, okay, that had opposed the freedom movement, and also the students who had worked to depose Hasina. Okay, so together even though they have won an unprecedented 32% of the popular votes cast, okay, but still it is a matter of concern for India, and India has to activate their diplomatic channels for the government as well as activities within the government. Okay, we must understand one thing, that India shares around 4156 kilometers of land border with Bangladesh. Okay, the geography is only one of the problem. The other problem is India's northeastern states, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh. They are all connected through the mainland India through the Siliguri corridor, which is less than 22 kilometers at its narrowest point. Okay, so India's defense planners have to organize one thing very clearly. We have to organize this corridor as the most strategically exposed geographical area. Okay, the management of security threats in northeast for decades have depended critically on intelligence cooperation with a friendly country like Bangladesh. Okay, in a situation when Dhaka is now planning to set up an air force and missile base near that corridor, India has to prepare itself to counter this, and I'm quite sure that India must be doing so. Okay. Moreover, the signing of MOUs indicates that India-Bangladesh bilateral relationship has already been shifted. Okay. Moreover, Islamabad has already gained a strong ground in this region. Okay, and along with this, Dhaka has been hosting the Pakistani officials and US officials regularly in these areas. Clear? Now, in geographical terms, Bangladesh is repositioning itself towards China, towards Pakistan, towards US for their strategic access, and signing pacts will fundamentally alter the balance of influence in the Bay of Bengal. Okay, so how much India must be concerned and what all security concerns must be raised, okay, is the new priority for the country. Okay, the US and the Bangladesh have finalized the defense agreements, and the US Navy will get direct access to the Bangladeshi ports and the airports in Bay of Bengal. Okay, so there have been decades the region had steered away from naval confrontations. This region was never known for naval confrontations or the competition, but with US entering the scene, with China entering the scene, we are bound to see major conflicts taking place in the Bay of Bengal now. And from now onwards, India has to worry about the third front, as it has to face China and the US on the other side, and the peaceful region for so long is now open for global competition and tensions. Okay, please do let me know what all are your views upon this. Okay, and I'll keep coming up with all such important geopolitical content. So we'll see you all in the next session. Jai Hind.